welcome to week 1 of the Favorite Sweater Quilt Along. If you're wondering what we're making, it is, and I'm going to tear the stickers a bit. Stuck it. We are going to be making this quilt. It is a free pattern from Ruby Star Society. I will drop links to the pattern in the doobly-doo, which is the technical term for the writing underneath this YouTube video. I learned that many years ago. You can download it. It is available in the listing of the bundles that I have in the store as well. But I'm going to talk tonight. We're going to talk about how to cut and prep your fabric. So if you're even just generally interested in quilting, you'll find that this video is helpful. And I've been teaching some of the quilting classes at Fabrications in person. And I got a question the other day that I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. It didn't occur to me that someone would need instruction on that. So I'm going to go through how to actually use starching spray. I have Flatter. We also have Best Press. And the reason that you would use this is that it helps to prevent fraying in the fabric. And what especially when you're dealing with very, very, very small pieces, there's some pieces in this this particular pattern that are only like 1 3/4 inches. I've sewn some patterns too where I've had pieces that are like 1 inch by 1 inch. They're very tiny. Every sliver of fabric that you lose to fraying is a piece of that you need in your piece and in your seam allowance. So using a starching spray helps with that. I like this one. It's fig scented. It makes everything smell nice. So I'm going to turn the camera down to my ironing board. So I've got my wool pressing mat and my iron is on. I've done most of the pressing already. I'm using steam as well. I haven't pressed these 3 pieces, which are what I'm going to use for the sweater themselves. So, and the wool pressing mat helps to trap the heat and lets you press the fabric from both sides. It's great for when you're trying to press your blocks to give yourself a flat seam as well. So with the starching spray, I'm just going to give it a couple of good sprays. It'll help to release the wrinkles from this being folded. And then I iron on, try to move the iron so that it's like not blocking the camera. I have the iron on the hottest temperature that it'll go to right now. And that is the mystery of how you use starching spray. So you just spray it directly on the fabric. You don't need to wash it out. It will wash out eventually. So I'll do that one more time. And if anybody has questions, please pop them into the question box. Say hi. I see there's 4 people watching. So I'm right-handed on the side. To get a little, and then just until all of the wrinkles release and the fabric is flat. Because accurate quilting is about, as much as quilting is about just have fun and do what you want, quilting is about accuracy. And your accuracy begins with having fabric that is not wrinkly. And from there, accurate cutting. So you can't sew with precision if you're not cutting with precision. And that's the next part that we're going to talk about. I got one more piece to iron here. I'm shook. I will have to grab some on my next shift. Yes, Emily. How does it feel to be on the other side of the camera now? After having experienced the Felix the Felix Knit Along. Yes, I am still knitting my Felix, but we're on to the next project, as is typical. I guess it's a different craft, so it's okay. At the store too, we have a deal for endless best press. So you basically buy the little bottle, we put a sticker on it, and then for the next year you get to come in for free refills. And unfortunately, that's only available for people who are local enough that they can travel to the store. But yeah, it is a really fantastic deal. So I'm actually going to move. Sorry, this is the part that I really feel bad for everybody, because I'm worried I'm making everybody feel swimmy. And I'm just going to make sure that, okay, I'm going to set this up right here, and I'm going to try my best so that you can see. That looks like perfect. All right. And I'm watching just to the right of here on my computer, so I can see everybody's comments. All right, so in this pattern, all we're cutting is squares. I'm not going to show the pattern because it is proprietary. You can download it for free. What I have done is I have marked out all the different sizes and the different colors with letters. And I'm going to take my Wonder Clips. Oh, where are they? Oh, we're going to have to do this. Now I can see what we need to do. There we go. So I'm going to take my Wonder Clips. There we go. And once I've cut everything, I'm going to clip all those little pieces together. These prints that I have here are going to end up being the top part of my sweater. This way. There we go. It's going to end up being the top part of my sweater. So what I need to cut is 8.5 by 4.5, 3.5 by 4.5, and 4.5 by 4.5. So I'm going to cut 4.5-inch strips. And I'm going to do this the sort of cheating way. Let me see if I can turn the brightness on this down, because it's really high contrast. See if that works better. Or do I just turn it? Nope, that's worse. Oh my goodness. There we go. I miss having a second person. So I am, QAL stands for Quilt Along, because we're all quilting along together, making this sweater pattern. So you're welcome to join us. You don't have to. I am laying my pieces, and you can do this for anything where you don't feel like you need to pattern match, and you just want to cut strips. So I am laying all of my pieces on top of each other. And I need to make sure that I have a flat surface all the way across here. I don't really have the longest table. Okay, this is not as, there we go. So I'm going to cut all three of these at the same time. For me, that's pretty comfortable with my rotary cutter. I'm going to start, let me see if I can bring this over here. I need to trim off this edge and start by squaring that up. And squaring up means we're making an even cut. So I'm going to take my smaller ruler actually, and I am going to line it up with that line on my mat, and I'm just going to lough it off. So I know that that's straight now. Now the other side that I have to square up is this top edge. This is more difficult because this is the length of the fabric. So, but I'm going to line this up with that line. And I'm going to, let's go with, I want to cut there. And now I know, which is a sign that I should change my blade, but I'm not now because I'm in the middle of doing this with you. So I now know that the edge and this edge are evenly cut. And now I'm going to cut a strip that is, sorry, I'm reading what it says, 4.5 inches wide. So I take my ruler and I'm going to measure from the top, 1, 2, 3, 4.5. And I'm going to end up cutting 2 strips like this. I'm going to move this out of the way for now. Normally I wouldn't do this, but I'm trying to cut the rest of this. Normally I would do this in one go, but I'm trying to make sure that we can see what's going on here. And there we go. And cut the rest of this at. I'm going to flip that back over. There's my 4.5 inches. And there. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to move that piece out of the way, is subcut these. So that means we're going to cut, I'm sure you can see what is going on. There we go. Subcutting is cutting down into smaller pieces. So we need to subcut this into, and we can just this. The original pattern has a very defined border and wants you to subcut into 14-inch sections. For us, because this is not, these are not as defined, I'm just going to cut. So we're going to cut an 8-inch piece. So I find the 8 on my ruler and line up my edges. So I'm lining up the 8-inch line along the edge at 4.5 inches there. And then over here you can see me. And I think I'm going to actually switch to my smaller ruler. There we go. It's a little bit more manageable. And then I'm going to cut again. So there's my 8.5-inch pieces, and those are my piece A's. So I'm going to get my sticky, and this is what Wonder Clips are good for. I've got a Post-it note that says A on it, and I'm just going to clip that all together so that it stays in place. And then I'm going to, you really shouldn't technically move this, but I'm trying to move it so the camera can see. We're going to cut 2 pieces that are 3 inches each. So there we go again. So I'm measuring from that 3. And there's 1, and then we'll do 1 more. And that makes 1 little sweater top section. So you need to go through the length, and this I've called piece B. So again, I put my Post-it note on it that says B, and I'm just going to clip it all together and keep those out of the way. And what you're going to do is then just continue along with cutting like this. So there's my 8-inch pieces, and there's my, I think you can get, we need a total of 13 sweaters. There we go. And we cut, and we cut, and I've got 6 here so far. And I think I can get one more piece out of this, one more sweater set. So we're going to do one more cut of 8. And then you would continue with the rest of your fabric. The other roll, the other line. You would need to trim it to, what was it? 4.5 inches. Okay, look at this. This is perfect. All right. And I'll end up with a little bit left over, but not worth saving, so it'll go in my scrap, my recycling bag for me. There are people who do save these like little itty bitty pieces, and I can't bring myself to do that. So yes, so there's my sweater pieces, and all 3 of them are cut in there. So those are piece B, and then we're going to do piece A. I'll clip those together. So the next thing you need to cut is the body of the fabric. And I'm going to move this out of the way. I did this side. I did not iron all the piece of this. So our kits came with, the pattern calls for fat 8ths, which are 9 by 9 inches by like 8 inches or 18 inches. I can't remember. Which we didn't cut. What we did in our kits is we cut 3 solids to make up all of the bodies of the sweater. What I did was, and this pattern is great for it, dived into my stash and found some other fabrics that would also coordinate. So I am only that I need from these, and it is the exact same method. You're going to find out from your pattern what you need to cut. I'm going to start by, and for this I need an 8-inch by 6.25 inch, which this ruler is not big enough for. And this ruler is not big enough for. So if you don't have a ruler that's big enough to measure out the piece that you need, you can use the lines on your cutting mat. So I'm going to start by just squaring this up a little bit in a piece bigger than what I know I need lengthwise. And I'm cutting all 3 fabrics again. And then I'm going to square up along my bottom edge here again. That's a lot to take off. You don't need to cut a lot. just a little bit. I'm not going to move this one around this time. So I'm going to cut this 8.5 inches by 6.25. So this will go a quarter inch more there. And oh, it's upside down. 8 inches by 6 inches and a quarter more. And then you can just shimmy your ruler down a little bit to make sure everything's okay. And that is my piece C. So I'm going to move those to the side. And then we also need to cut 3.5 inches by 1.75 inches. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3 by 1.75. Because I know that this is square. Oh, we need 2 of those. So I'm actually going to cut a 6-inch piece by 1.75. And then I'll subcut that again. It's easier than trying to cut. Especially with usually stand around the fabric. And I'm saying now that everybody can see. Because this is a solid, I don't have to worry about direction of my fabric. So we cut those 2 pieces, and then I need 1 piece that is 4 inches by 1.75. So only one of those. So 1.75 again by 4 inches. They're very tiny pieces. Excellent. And that is, and then you need to go through all of your pieces. So I've got some, leftover, sorry, I'm going to bring them over here. I've got some leftover layer cake pieces from another project that I didn't end up using these pieces. So these are perfect. I've got some scraps that are going to coordinate, and I'm going to go through all of those and add them into this project. So let me do this because we are, sorry, hello again. And this is not going to, oh my goodness. Sorry. Oh, what have I done? I don't know what I've done. I've gone some preset thing. No, we just want to go back to the chat button. There we go. I don't know what I've done. I've got some like color correction thing on YouTube right now that I can see. I'm very sorry for making everybody whoosh around like that. What the goal is to have all of your pieces cut by next week. Does anybody want one more additional watch of me cutting things, or do we feel like that was sufficient we're cutting? And then next week we're going to actually put our little sweater together. We'll start sewing next week. Quilting really does, a large part of quilting is the preparation to sit down and to sew. So yes, that's it. I'm glad that there were people that could join us today. If you do have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. Leave us a comment. Let me know. We do have a Facebook group and there's an event. So if you have any questions, there's kits left at the store if you want to pick up a kit to make your sewing easy. And yeah, follow along with what the pattern says. It's got a very clear layout about how to cut this. Are you doing the quilt along, Emily? I didn't know that. Amazing. Is this going to be your first quilt? That would be very exciting if it was. And through the weeks, we're going to this week we're cutting. Next week we're going to put together the sweater block panels. The third week we'll put together the whole of the quilt top, and then the fourth week I will give a demonstration on how to quilt and how to finish your quilt. So we won't actually be working with the quilt because quilting and sewing an entire quilt is a huge project. I'm just going to demonstrate on quilt and how to bind. And there's two different binding methods that I will hopefully demonstrate. Anyways, have a wonderful night, everybody, and we will see you next week. Bye.